UFC Fight Night Mexico City is here after a lackluster UFC London with some frustrating fights throughout, some decent submissions here and there, some big upsets, some parlay busters, if you will. But this week, hopefully, with another card that is actually a pretty good name value card, maybe we can get a little bit more finish potential out of these. I think we're gonna look good though. We got a lot of good Latin American fighters, a lot of good American fighters too here that I think are gonna get a good amount of finishes throughout this card. It's a pretty heavy finish, and it's got a great main event with Brandon Moreno, Steve Erceg. Little surprise, Manuel Torres, Drew Dober is the co-main over Kelvin Gastelum, Joe Pyfer. It's a little strange to me. I feel like it's Kelvin Gastelum and Joe Pyfer's a little bit, maybe not because Kelvin's middleweight kind of reign. His career there maybe isn't gonna go anywhere, so I can understand that maybe, but nonetheless, we got to start from the beginning, shall we? Austin Hubbard versus Markel Medeiros. I'm going to go with Markel Medeiros for a few reasons. I think he's a lot slicker on the feet. Good head movement, good footwork, good protection with all the parries. He's really good at rolling with a lot of shots. Yeah, and he'll move around his opponents as well. Got good takedown defense. And I also think the disadvantages for Austin here is his wide stance, as he always has in most of his fights. Great front kicks Austin Hubbard does have. I'm not too big of a fan of the other kicks. I think there's a little bit of a tell with his other like leg kicks and things like that. But great front kicks for sure. I don't think he's got the speed advantage, though. I think the speed advantage is definitely on Medeiros' side here. You got a little bit of the youth factor, and because Austin Hubbard, he's got a lot of miles on the tank, man. He's taken a lot of damage throughout the years. I will say that. And the grappling is probably even. Markel Medeiros likes to play more of like the clinch, tie striking game. Not really big on takedowns, but a good takedown defense. To if Austin Hubbard, I could see trying to switch up this one, but I'm gonna go with Markel Medeiros. Next, we got Jamall Emmers versus Gabriel Miranda. I am going to go. It's tough. It's tough because this is a strange one. Gabriel Miranda, he is a submission artist, all right, and Jamall Emmers, he likes his takedowns, all right. He definitely likes his takedowns. Jamall Emmers most recently going against Nate Landwehr way back in March 2024, where Nate Landwehr came back in the end after getting really roughed up in the first round. Man, I think I was gonna go Gabriel Miranda, but I am gonna go Gabriel Miranda. Actually, just he looked like he could have had Morgan Charriere in a bit of trouble with the grappling at first. Um, I don't know. I think I rate Morgan Charriere a lot higher than I do Jamall Emmers. Maybe that's a bad call. Now I'm switching up. I'm going with Jamall Emmers. I don't think he's going to be able to get taken to the ground with Gabriel Miranda. Gabriel Miranda is also a guy who likes to pull full guard, which is not usually a good look. So I'm not gonna. This isn't gonna be one of the underdog. I hang my hat on here. Yeah. So we're gonna go Jamall Emmers. Next we got Rafa Garcia versus Vinc Pichel. Man, yeah, no. Rafa Garcia definitely did not look good in his last fight, and maybe these odds should be a bit closer because Vinc Pichel, he had a pretty tough opponent in his last fight, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Ismail Bonfim, who definitely put it on him. Definitely put it on him, but I just don't think Rafa Garcia, who's going to be going for more of the grappling, I don't think that's going to be a very good pace for Vinc Pichel at 42 years old. I just don't think so. I mean, Rafa honestly just has the stature to get under him. It's not going to be. I think this isn't going to be a pretty fight. If Rafa gasses a bit and Vinc takes over, it could look pretty good if Vinc comes in and gets a finish. That'd be pretty sweet. But you got Rafa out working Clay Guida, losing to Grant Dawson, but Grant Dawson's in that lower top 15 kind of place. Went all the way to decision with Drakkar Close, so he can survive with knockout artists till the end. So yeah, I got to put it on Rafa Garcia there. Next, we got Juliana Polastri versus Lupita Godinez. The return of Loopy, who has been out, I think, for a good little stint here. Yeah, last taking that tough loss to Mackenzie Dern. I think she's got this one, though. I think her takedowns still looked great in the Dern fight. Obviously, she didn't want to stick down there for a very long time. The boxing didn't look the best in the Dern fight, but we've seen it look so much better in other fights. And I think Dern probably just was a very unorthodox opponent for Loopy. Um, and the submission threat being so high makes it much harder for Loopy's game to really be successful. So I really was trying to remember these style matchups for this one, where we have Julia Palastru, who's a Muay Thai fighter who had to take a tough loss against Josephine Knudsen, where you got same styles kind of clashing there, but Josephine is just way ahead in that game. So Julia will definitely be trying to go for that Muay Thai style against Lupita, but I think Lupita's takedowns are just going to be money. Julia's legs and that Muay Thai stance are going to be really close together. The hips are going to be available. I think Loopy and the boxing is going to be available to go into the takedown. I think that this is a matchup set up for Loopy, I think, to do really, really well. So we're going to go with Loopy. Next, we got, I forgot how to say his first name. Melchizedek Costa, who actually I'm super rate. He's a super entertaining fighter. In terms of entertainment, he's a very entertaining fighter. Versus the prospect killer, the prospect murderer, even, Christian Rodriguez. It took Julian Erosa to guillotine this guy to get him to stop. Luckily, Julian Erosa wasn't a prospect. So at this point, I don't really think I could call Costa a prospect, can I? How many fights has he had at this point? He's had 5 fights with 2 losses, so can you even really call him like a... And those were at lightweight to Thiago Moises and Steve Garcia. Like, those are tough outings, So I think Costa may even do it again. He might get a back-to-back guillotine here. Christian C-Rod may have worked on that guillotine defense since then. Make sure that doesn't happen again. So I'm kind of messing around with that. But I think C-Rod is going to run into someone who is not going to let them bully him. Like I think C-Rod is definitely a bully type of fighter in terms of how he grapples and how he enters and just how he beats up prospects. It's pretty funny, honestly. But I don't think you're going to be able to do that to Costa. I think he's going to meet him there, and I think his power is going to be very unexpected. Has C-Rod been knocked out? He's been... one loss is submission, the other is decision. Who was that against? Jonathan Pierce. Yeah, and what was this at? Featherweight? Was this one at featherweight as well? Yep. He was a plus 295 underdog in that fight, and the odds made sense. Yeah, I feel like this little surge, this 2-fight win streak that Costa's been on, I think the momentum's on his side here. C-Rod's got a bit of momentum, but what? Against Austin Bashi, who came fresh off the Contender Series and was kind of just made for C-Rod to be. I regretted picking Austin Bashi, I think, and I was so on the fence to picking C-Rod there. But yeah, I would never bet on a C-Rod fight, to be honest. Especially the one where he's a favorite. Costa's an underdog? Oh, you gotta go with Costa on the underdog. Oh my goodness, of course. Yes, there's a Costa. There's our first underdog for the card. Next, we got Ateba Gautier versus Jose Medina. We're gonna go with Gautier. If I remember correctly, he is a big ass dude. 6'4", 81-inch reach. Going against Jose Medina, who is gonna be looking to take this to the ground. Oh wait. Yes, excuse me. I was correct the first time. Definitely going to try and get this to the ground. Not nearly the same size in terms of reach and height. And Gautier, man, he looks good at 185. That is a big 6'4", 81-inch reach. He looks like he's a little bit bigger than Adesanya even. So it's going to be really tough. Gautier showed really good get up and takedown defense. Not in the first round. I think he may have played it safe in the first round of his last fight to try to hold the dude chest to chest, make sure the dude couldn't get off a lot when he's still fresh in the first round. But the way he came back and finished, it was brutal. If I remember correctly, it was a left hook to ground. Yeah. So And as you can see, he is on a very impressive KO streak with a variety of strikes. I think he's going to be able to keep distance really, really well on Jose Medina. And Jose Medina is literally one of the much, much, much lower down the ranking middleweights. I think these are appropriate odds coming off back-to-back losses. Brought in after he lost on the Contender Series as well. Yeah, you gotta go with Gautier. That's a parlay bet right there. Next, we got Edgar Cháirez versus CJ Vergara. I used to be a big CJ Vergara fan when he first came in. The Contender Series match was pretty impressive. Then when he came into the UFC, I think his first fight, he won, if I remember correctly, right? Oh no, he got Ode Osborne and missed weight. I think it was still a decent fight though. But definitely been having weight troubles. He's got a 68-inch reach, which is a little bit long, but you look on the other side, and Edgar Cháirez over here with the same problem, but even worse at 72 inches of reach. But I think Cháirez, he's got this one. I think it's been rough. People will clown on CJ because there's been multiple fights where he literally turns around and runs away. I think Edgar Cháirez is just got way more tools than CJ Vergara. CJ Vergara more of a boxer, has a few kicks, but then is mostly trying to wrestle, make a decent mixed martial arts game. Whereas Edgar Cháirez got a lot of different tools on the feet, got elbows, he's got kicks, he's got knees, and he's a submission threat as well, if I remember correctly. He's got a good bottom guard, he's got an arm bar. He's got guillotines, he's got triangle chokes, rear naked chokes, arm bars. Like, you can see how many different submissions he's got and different types of striking finishes as well. I think that's going to be really intimidating for CJ. It's funny how much they have the other odds at like crazy ones, and then they're like, yeah, it's like 2.5 for Edgar. And it's like, yeah, that's reasonable. So yeah, good odds here. Definitely, I don't know if this is one I would bet on. CJ is very inconsistent. You never know really when he's gonna win, and these are not easy opponents in his last two fights. Ramazan Temirov, Asu Almalbayev. Those are very, very tough opponents, actually. But that being said, I just think a really good striker like Cháirez is just gonna cause a lot of problems for CJ, and I don't think he's gonna. He may be able to get a takedown early, but I think once you get to the later rounds, Cháirez, he can last over a few rounds. We saw that with Joshua Van. That was a fantastic fight. That one go to the decision? I'm pretty sure it did, right? Yeah. Great fight, though, against Joshua Van. And I think Joshua Van is a much better striker and has better takedown defense than most flyweights. Joshua has shown us at this point. Next, we got Ronaldo Rodríguez, rising Mexican star Ronaldo Rodríguez, all right, against Kevin Borjas, lazy boy, all right. Oh, this is tough. Actually. I think these odds are very appropriate. Ronaldo Rodríguez, obviously one of the toughest dudes in this division. Very, very durable, can go through a lot of damage and come back even from that damage. Probably going to be going for the submission, trying to get the takedown, trying to get to the rear naked choke is what I'm suspecting from Ronaldo Rodríguez in this fight against Kevin Borjas. But Kevin Borjas, I think, especially in he's 0-2, all right, but he's faced some good competition. Alessandro Costa, who has only lost to Amir Albazi and Steve Erceg, and is won otherwise in the UFC, okay, and looked really, really good in that fight whenever he beat Kevin. And who was the other guy that Kevin fought? It was also Joshua Van, who he lost to. It's like, damn, okay. So two guys who are like doing pretty darn well right now against Ronaldo Rodríguez. Whereas I think Kevin Borjas, man, he's a very straight shooter, sniper. He also has a lot of spin kicks. He's pretty dynamic. Or no, excuse me, that might have been David Martinez. No. It's more just straight shots down the middle, good boxing, more fundamentals with Kevin Borjas. I was looking at David Martinez. But whereas Ronaldo Rodríguez, he's really just trying to enter, trying to figure out how to close distance, kind of cause more chaos, try to get on top in full guard. He showed against Ode Osborne is something that he tries to get to. Yeah, no, I think this is going to be where Kevin Borjas is actually going to get his first win, to be honest. I think that, especially in Ronaldo's last fight against O'Day Osborne, he showed that he can get chinned pretty badly, and I think Kevin is very accurate. I think he's gone against some tough competition for his style. I think he's just got a couple dudes there that just does it a little bit better than him, but I don't think that one of those dudes is Ronaldo Rodríguez, honestly. So I'm actually going to pick Kevin Borjas here. Next, we got David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira. Now, let me remind myself, Simon over here, most recently fighting Daniel Marcos, which is not on ESPN Plus, versus Tony Gravely. Kind of just got wrestled the whole time against my dude. Tony Gravely can get a little wild, though, and throw some crazy strikes, but when I say wild, more like looping. But really got out wrestled there against David Martinez, who is a very bouncing up and down, really ready to explode. He's got different kicks, got spin kicks and things like that. And honestly, I think that he's got this one. He actually has a pretty darn good style. I think he could even get the finish here. In his last fight, he definitely showed openings, and I think someone who can really have a lot of power can actually knock him out. So in the past, he hasn't actually fought anyone I know of that is already in the UFC as well. So although experience is probably going to be on Simon Oliveira's side here, I don't think this is going to be a good style for him, especially when he just fought Daniel Marcos. I mean, these are two very different fighters that he lost to. So I just don't think it's looking good. I don't think it's looking good for my man Oliveira. I think David Martinez is going to come in with that good record and all that momentum that he's been building. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. They got a similar reach here. A little bit of height advantage for David Martinez, but it's not like Simon Oliveira is going to be shooting on him. So we're all good here to lock in David Martinez. Next, we got Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. Another tough one here. Actually. Raul Rosas Jr. definitely has shown his improvements, and they've definitely decided to go with more of a slow build for him. Finishes over Terrence Mitchell and Ricky Tercios, who, admittedly, Ricky Tercios I think is pretty hard to submit. Yeah, that was his only submission loss. So very hard to submit Ricky Tercios. So that puts up a lot of points for me. Going against Vince Morales, good striker here. Also has some submissions of his own. All right, so this is a good matchup. It's a good little test. All right, now Elijah Smith, if I remember correctly, let me check something up real quick, and because Elijah Smith is huge on the takedowns. He's done it in all of his fights. Against Vince Morales, he landed 3. Vince Morales got 2 on him. I feel like if Vince Morales is going to take down Raul Rosas Jr., it's probably a bad idea, though. Has the Peruvian necktie finish over Hunter Azure. I mean, it's a tough one, because he could really deny Raul the takedowns if he wants to. That could be a problem. I don't know. I'm actually going to go with Raul Rosas Jr. I think he's been training with a lot of good people, and I think his grappling is probably going to have leveled up a ton, especially with him still only being 20 years old. Who knows? Who knows how much stronger his takedowns have gotten? Who knows how much faster he's gotten? This is a guy who actually has an insane amount of room to grow. You have to think about people like Chase Hooper, who just are night and day from where they came from in the beginning. I think you just got to consider that with Raul Rosas Jr. here. I think that's going to lock in the win for him. And I think he's going to get the takedown in a rear naked choke, honestly. It's going to just be classic. Classic Raul Rosas, in my opinion. Next, we got Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Kelvin, damn it, why can't you just cut to 170? You're 5'9", you're 71.5 inches of reach. I love Kelvin, man. He's a great fighter to watch. He's got a good style, very entertaining, action filled. The boxing's there, the wrestling is there. All right, it wasn't there against Sean Brady. Joe Pyfer on the other side, 6'2", 75 inches of reach. Now, with Adesanya, when Kelvin Gastelum fought Adesanya has like a ridiculously long reach. It's something silly. You really have to stay at distance if you're gonna have that kind of reach advantage. When you have like a 3 to 4 inch reach advantage, that makes the boxing range much more dangerous for the shorter reach guy. All right, because we all know Adesanya with that long ass reach, he's not really boxing with that. He's using his distant strikes and maybe can come down hard with that straight. But with Joe Pyfer, man, I think he's gonna chin Kelvin. I don't think Kelvin Gastelum's actually ever been knocked out. Yeah, but I'm willing to say Joe Pyfer, homie I think is gonna knock him out. I really do. I don't think this is a guy you like should stand with your hands down, which Kelvin really likes to do, unless Kelvin is gonna go in with a heavy grappling game plan. But homie, you're not Jack Hermanson. All right, Jack Hermanson is a sneaky, tough fighter to go against, which Kelvin could be that guy. It's just like the size difference is going to be so apparent. It's going to be really apparent as soon as this fight starts. And yeah, I'm just not looking forward to the power that Kelvin's going to probably feel. And I'm not going to, I think we're going to see Kelvin Gastelum get knocked out for the first time. And that is my prediction. And I think that should be co-main event because I want my boy Joe Pyfer to get, like, he was actually supposed to fight someone else on this card, wasn't he? Wasn't he? I feel like Joe Pyfer was teasing a fight with someone else. Because I know he was talking about it at the Fury Pro grappling event he did a while back. But who knows? Next we got, for the co-main event, Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. Guaranteed strike fest. I'm going with Drew Dober. I just think Manuel Torres, although Drew Dober does like to throw caution to the wind, I think that comes once the war has started. In the beginning of a fight, Drew Dober will measure things out. He will stay defensively sound where he can. I don't think the speed's going to be on his side, but Manuel Torres, from the get-go when he starts striking, makes like really scary defensive mistakes in terms of where he's leaving his hands as he's throwing combinations, even when he's just throwing two-punch combinations. I think in the Ignacio Bahamondes fight, he really exposed that. Ignacio really exposed that. And these are, I think, appropriate odds. Considering where Drew Dober is in his career, considering the height and reach advantages, where, as most people think, though, Drew Dober's a little bit cleaner in the striking, I think Manuel Torres just has those other factors that are kind of weighing this to be more of an even fight. So, with that being said, I think Drew Dober can just also take more damage than Manuel Torres. Drew Dober has shown this chin isn't just a comedic crimson chin. All right, this is a real it's actually a good chin as well. So that's how I feel. This is just, I think, a train wreck waiting to happen, and Drew Dober is going to keep his nice little spot just outside the rankings, being the gatekeeper of the top 15. All right, so that's Drew Dober, Manuel Torres, and we're heading on to our main event. Title implications, possibly, but also, is it? Because if Brandon Moreno wins, what does he fight Pantoja again? And if Erceg wins, does he fight Pantoja again? I don't know, because everyone wants Manel Cap to fight for the title. And he had a weird fight where he just groin kicked the guy. Yeah, I don't even know. But that being said, Brandon Moreno, Steve Erceg, I'm going with Brandon Moreno. I just think way more tools to win. Way more tools to win. And I think the builds as well are going to just favor Brandon. I feel like this is like a Volkanovski versus Max Holloway situation where Steve Erceg has that measured, jab, jab. And he's like, he really measures that distance, really paws that jab out. And the follow-up shots that he can set up with that, and the kicks as well, I think are really good on Steve Erceg. The thing is, Brandon Moreno can do that, but he can cut angles like nobody's business. And he is a sneaky, sneaky good jiu-jitsu guy, too. Good takedowns, all right? Good reversals for Brandon Moreno. So And most of Steve Erceg, his path to victory a lot of time is the submission. And there's just, I have no way of surmising in my mind that Steve Erceg is going to submit Brandon Moreno. Um, yeah, I can't even, I don't even know where to visualize that happening. I don't know. Because Brandon Moreno, I mean, we saw in all the Figgy fights, the grappling that we saw in some of those Figgy fights were just next level, right? Some of the submission escapes, the reversals, the takedown, every aspect of it was crazy. Um, I think the body kick, I mean, I know we don't like to use, recency bias tonight. It wasn't that recent, but the Kai Kara France body kick, um, Brandon Moreno showed like he can knock people out in a lot of ways. And I don't even know if that's his only body strike finish, or at least not the first time he's hurt someone to the body. And this Brandon Royval, he even said himself he wasn't like who he usually is. He was much more tentative. And then just when he came back in the Amir Albazi fight, he just shows how well he can correct. Whenever he stumbles, Brandon Moreno is like one of those guys who's really good at like picking himself back up. Very impressed with that. That's one of the biggest things I think I admire about Brandon Moreno. So I think all these factors are just leaning toward him. Steve Erceg having just lost his last 2 fights against some of the guys in that top 5 picture, it's not going to be good because now you're just going against kind of the second best out of all of the who's even at the. I mean, oh well, they don't do champions here, so it's Pantoja and then and so they got Royval under that. It's like. So now we think the guy on top of all of those, that's the one he beats. I can't buy that. I'm going with Brandon Moreno. And as for my parlay, baby, we gotta put Brandon Moreno in there. I love putting my money on Brandon Moreno, especially if it's up against a really lower of the rankings top of the top 15 up and comer at this point. And then next we're gonna go with. We're gonna go with. I like Gautier. Yeah. Gautier is a good one to put in that parlay. Oh, and then we got. I'll give you 2 more. We're gonna put Joe Pyfer in there. Yeah, we're gonna put Joe Pyfer in there. Probably shouldn't be that big a favorite, but I understand why. Let me do one risky one. Huh. Who was that? What was my first underdog I picked? Was it Costa? Fuck it. Put Costa in there. I know that's dangerous as hell. I know it's a C-Rod fight. But we are here to live dangerously, okay? This is a great card, though. A lot of good names. A lot of good prospects like this. Like the Ronaldo Rodríguez and then Edgar Cháirez isn't a prospect. But at least 29. He's actually younger than CJ. He looks like he's been worn and torn with all the crazy fights he's been in. But yeah, a lot of good fighters on this. The top 3 on the card. It's great. And then you got a great prospect underneath that. And another great prospect opening the card. And like this is just fantastic all around. They really show out for these Mexican cards. So let me know what you guys think I got right. Comment below. What do you think I got wrong? Leave a like. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'm going to be trying to drop a Kevin Holland video kind of summing up the career up to this point and really give a statement on where I think that man should go after that fantastic win over Gunnar Nelson. But otherwise, I will see y'all next time.